every now and then you want to hear how men feel about their spouses. Some men are reluctant to share their intimate feelings with their significant other. That's something I never really figured out. I believe the more spouses talk, especially men, the better the relationship would be. But others will hold everything inside, never allowing their mate the opportunity to see or feel that side of them. You might say that it is old school or maybe ancient. Truth is, it does happen. And for those who have to experience the silence from their man, or from the ones who have to continue guessing how their mate feels, this episode is going to be a real treat. The Relationship Therapy Podcast ran across some married men who were ready to honestly share their feelings about their mates without any hesitation.
You've tuned into the Relationship Therapy Podcast with Tony Miller Sr., a podcast designed for couples who are married, couples who are dating, and have marriage in their future. We will guide you to the principles that will make your relationship better. Stick around. You might just learn something that will help your relationship last longer, grow stronger, and become healthier. Now, here's your host, Tony Miller Sr.
Hello, everybody. This is your host, Tony Miller Sr., and welcome to another episode of the Relationship Therapy Podcast. Thank you for listening, tuning in each week. I really appreciate that. But this week, boy, do I have a great episode for you today. I had a very special opportunity to sit down with some married men who allowed me to ask them some interesting questions about relationships. What you're going to discover is that they don't mind sharing how much they love and care for their spouses. You're going to hear some powerful conversations from men who have been married a combined 238 years. We could have talked for hours as they were willing to open up about how they see themselves inside their relationship. I pray that what you hear from these men will encourage other men to articulate their thoughts, emotions, and deep feelings to their mate just a little bit more. I also believe that women may get inside the marital locker room to hear what real men have to say about the person that they love. I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed sitting down and listening to these brothers speak. So without further delay, let's go. I'm here with a bunch of guys who volunteered willingly, with maybe an arm twist by me, to talk about relationships from a standpoint of men. And I've got all ages in here, so we'll get a great perspective. So I'm going to ask a series of questions. I want all of you to kind of chime in on the answers to those questions. And I just want to say thank you for being here. I appreciate that. It's going to be probably one of the most listened to episodes of the Relationship Therapy Podcast. At least I hope it is. First, let me ask you this. How do you rate yourself as a husband in the relationship? And I've got 5 answers I want you to consider. Answer number 1, pitiful. And I hope you brothers don't pick that one. Answer number 2, needs some work. Number 3, average. Number 4, above average. And number 5, exceeds expectations. So who wants to start? And then you can give me a little, elaborate on that if you want to a little bit. You can go ahead and start.
All right. Well, I think I'm above average, with a caveat to say I need some work as well. I think I'm a good provider for my family. I have 4 adult children. I still try to be that common grace voice in their lives, giving advice, sound advice. I spend a lot of time with my wife. I'm not in the streets doing anything that's going to bring any shame to our reunion. She knows I'm a hard worker. I'm dedicated. I mentor children. I'm a good teammate at work. So I think I do a lot of those things outside the home at a high level. I think I do a solid job inside the home. However, there's some things that I can spend a little bit more time and specifically to her with her needs, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I see myself as above average too, with a lot more improvement that need to be made. A lot of things that are pretty important slip through the cracks with me, and I need to work on it. And I have provided for the family for a long period of time, but it's a tough job to stay focused and try to reach that plateau of what you call it, superior, the last
exceeds expectation.
One of the things we have to be cognizant of in a relationship, a marital relationship, is that you'll never reach that pinnacle of superior. Mm-hmm. But it's always something you need to strive for, and things pop up along the way all the time, and you can just kind of try to grasp those and use those. And then you just have to listen. You got to listen to your partner. They're telling you a lot of things within all this gibber that they give you. They're telling you and asking you for something, and you just got to listen. But I rate myself above average.
Okay.
And I say above average too, just to speak to what the two previous men said before me. I know that I do great in a lot of areas, but I think there are areas, as he said, focus on. I think to exceed expectations is difficult because a lot of times we don't know what those expectations are. Because as you said, we hear those things and we need to listen to those things, but if they're not clearly articulated, it's hard. And, I think for me personally, being a provider, having children, having your own time is important. So I can do a great job because I'm trying to be refreshed. So when I get time for me, it's hard. But then going back to what you said, trying to make sure that I'm paying attention to her needs. Mm-hmm. And so trying to find that balance of how can I refuel to be ready for the work me, the dad me. Right. And I think sometimes the husband part is what lacks, because it's not going to take, hey, she's going to be here, but it's just, I got to show up to work. That's how I provide. Got to be there for my kids because they need daddy. And my wife, she's going to understand, or she's going to give grace. And because we may not know or listen always to what they're sharing for our expectations, we don't know fully. They may not share all the things, or we're not doing a good job to listen. And that's why, I think I'm above average. But as you said, still need some work. And I would dare say there's some areas where I may say, man, yeah, he's pitiful in that, but it's very nuanced, specific, probably an area that I could do a lot better in. But overall, yeah, I'm above average, yeah.
Because my wife is a godly woman, she needs a godly man. One that, like most of the men so far have said, rearing the children, taking care of the business part of the relationship with family. She also needs a man that will lead. And if the man leads in a godly way, she would be more willing to follow him. So I like to phrase myself as a work continually in progress. We have adult children, we have grandchildren, and we have a great-grandchild. And I feel that if they can see me, not as a leader, but as a godly grandparent, great-grandparent, husband, I would be better and more effective.
Okay. Well, if I have to answer the question, I would say, just like everybody else, above average. But there's some gaps that I need to fill. There's some holes that need to be plugged. But just as most of you have already elaborated, I think I fall down in certain aspects of being married, but it was a key thing that you said about listening. And I'm a great listener, but sometimes that listening that I do hear doesn't translate to actions.
And sometimes you don't, when I say listen, I'm not talking about hearing something. Listening and just, you can feel it in the atmosphere. When your spouse is communicating to you, asking you for something so you can give it to them. And if you don't take that silence and listen, you miss out on a lot of things, opportunities to be as close to superior as you can. But you just have to listen and feel the same.
Next man up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I would say above average. And the reason I say I feel I'm above average because, I feel I'm a good provider. I relate well with my family. I try to lead them in the right way. We go to church just about every Sunday. And I try to be that person that they can come to and talk to. Now, it wasn't like that all the time, but as I grew into the relationship, it got better. And that comes with good communication. Because if you don't have good communication in your relationship, guess what? It's not going to be good. So over the years, I have learned that, basically I didn't talk a lot. So now I'm starting to talk a little bit more. So I think that's one of the keys of a good relationship. You have to be able to listen, and you have to look at what their needs are, and basically, strive for perfection.
I mean, we're saying what we're saying here and using the term above average, but I mean, in relationship to what? Are we saying our friends, the people we associate with, what we see in the media, on the news? I think it's important to frame it or have the perspective of in comparison to what, or in comparison to who. Because if we're all saying we're above average and we all know each other, we hang around each other all the time, are we saying we're the average amongst us? We're better because I think that's a little bit, higher bar than what we're than what we're actually trying to communicate here. So I think it's always important to have a certain perspective of in a relationship to what,
I think when you're gauging anything, it's based on your current experiences, what you see, feel,
yourself.
And so everything that around you kind of, you're judging yourself like, do I meet the standard but part of that is communication. Your spouse is giving you those cues of, you did good, or you got to work on this. And as the gentleman said earlier, you do have to listen to those things. And so you got to always be, okay, I think I'm doing good, but did I hear her, or did I hear him, or whatever the case may be? Did I hear them incorrectly, so I can respond accordingly to what that person shared with you?
And I think to your point of essentially what's the standard, and I had a conversation with my wife. We talked about, because it's hard not to compare, right? Mm-hmm. And what I had to learn, I realized, and I heard from somewhere, and then me and my wife talked about the standard is based on her criteria, because if this guy is not doing it, and I'm like, well, I do more than him, it doesn't matter what his marriage looks like. It's like, what does my wife want as relates? Because I'm like, well, I know he's not doing X, Y, Z. Yeah, but I'm not his wife, right? That's what she said. Like, I'm your wife. And so that has to be the standard to what you said, because I think that's where it starts. Mm-hmm. It's like, what is her expectations of us, and who opinion matters, right? Which is hers.
And that's what kind of talk about what he said. You got to listen to your spouse. Mm-hmm. And so that's good.
I would argue that the same energy and effort that I put into the relationship when we were dating, when we were engaged, in the first part of our marriage, I'm not putting that same amount of energy into our marriage anymore. So I would say, and it's not bad, like we're not going south or anything, but I would just argue I am so far spread thin that I am neglecting my wife. So kind of what you guys said earlier, where you're doing a lot of stuff in the community. You're doing a lot of stuff, as far as work and everything goes, but you're kind of taking your wife for granted. So I got a lot of irons in the fire, and I'm putting a lot of energy and effort into those things. But as far as being there, like, to like spend, a ton of time with your kids, spend a ton of time with your wife, I'm not able to do that right now. But after, we get to where we want to get, or I'm able to achieve what I want to achieve, I know you can't make time back, but then I'm planning on putting time into it at that point in time. So I would argue that mine needs work, and the standard that I'm comparing myself to is what I established to convince her to marry me.
So, and I'm glad you mentioned that you're honest with that. But we have, and I did the exact same thing that you're talking about as far as trying to prepare and whether it's your profession or whatever, you're neglecting things on the side. But we have to be cautious that you mentioned about not getting that time back, but it may be to a point where you've devoted, or you spent so much time focused on one thing that this other piece that's very important to you is deteriorating. That relationship is deteriorating to a point where you can't repair it. And then what do you do? Because you're putting all your focus in, I got to provide for my family, I got to provide, and you're doing all those things with your heart in the right place. But the other part of you, because you're a union, the other part of you is starting to deteriorate. So think about that in the sense of your body being whole. You have two lungs. One of your lungs is, you're thinking it's pumping fine, but the other one is dying, and you don't know because this was pumping so well. At some point, you may give out, and you're going to need that other lung to help you, and that other lung is going to be gone.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Gone.
So as far like my wife and I, we're in constant communication. Like we talk a lot, and I'm like, hey, this is what I have going on. This is what I have going on. Is that okay? If it's not okay, speak up. And she knows that she can speak up. The communication in that regard is like, I've already laid out everything. Hey, this is what I want to do. And if it's not done in that amount of time, it just didn't work out. Right. Example, not that I want to be a rapper, but like you can't be 45 still chasing a rap career. At a certain point in time, you gotta acknowledge, hey, this path ain't for me. Let me just go ahead on and live the life that, that you can do.
Well, in a previous episode of mine, I talked about quality time, and a lack of quality time with your mate could lead to growing apart, because you start getting different desires, because each individual is going through a different phase as you get older, and then your marriage is going through a different phase. So quality time is important, and it's relative to your relationship. It's not what somebody else's quality time is. Like me and Val, our quality time consists of just talking, not necessarily doing anything out the house, but just talking and being in together, talking. Okay, that's good. You had something? Yeah, that's good. Well, let me ask this. I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer this question. Do you have any very memorable moments with your wife that you would like to share, or even just elaborate on?
I have many, but one in particular, and this is how we got started. I'll be honest with you. I was working in my professional piece. I was working, and I remember seeing her for the first time. I saw her, and I said, "Who is this lady?" And we had a common friend and introduced us, and that was what it was, just an introduction. I remember that kind of spawned conversation over the telephone, which then resulted in a face-to-face again. And I remember talking to her. We parked side by side in our cars. And this was 1 o'clock. Well, it started about 11 o'clock at night. and we talked for 3 hours, sitting in our car. We're in different cars, but we sat side by side. And that conversation for those 3 hours honestly laid the foundation for our relationship.
That's good.
And I remember that to this day, where we were, even what she had on, how she had her hair, what I had on, the whole nine. And I remember that conversation. We talk about that. I mean, you talk about almost 20 years ago. And we talk about that now because of how much it meant to us, about that connection. That real connection started on that night. And it was something that was just a friendship, getting to know someone. And here we are, married, 4 kids between us, and grandchild, and a bunch of memories between then and now. So yeah, that memory really sticks out.
Good. Somebody else?
Yeah, I remember myself and my wife. We married and straightway went on our honeymoon, and we had about a 2.5-week honeymoon. And when we got back, I was supposed to go to my part-time job, which I was working 7 days a week straight, 1 week after another, prior to our marriage. And when we got back, I told her, I said, from now on, I'm going to give you every weekend because I enjoyed you thoroughly. Something that I hadn't been able to do prior to our marriage because I was busy trying to gather all of these things up so that we can go forth in marriage. So far, I've been able to give her every weekend, but because here again, we have trying to accomplish this, and other things, I've got behind, just like the other gentleman here said, he got so many irons in the fire that he's not able to just say, honey, I love you. But that these are the things that I'm trying to get accomplished for you. And it's important that whatever we do, guys, we've got to always make time for the mate. The mate will understand, but understanding will not do anything for satisfaction. And we got to always remember that. We got to.
There's so many that I can talk about, but the one that always comes back when I think about all of those special moments, it was the time when I met my spouse, first met her. I graduated from high school, had a mainstay, but when I saw her, forget about the mainstay. And I know what she had on. I know where we were. I didn't remember what I had on, probably some jeans, but that was a special moment. And I said to myself, when I saw her, I'm going to take her as my wife. And we often talk about that. And I told her, she asked me why was that so definite? I said, because of the way you carried yourself. I watched you. And no nonsense kind of person. I mean, you got to be right when you come. And so that drew me to her.
I could share how we met, because that's very memorable. I can share, we all have memories. The one I want to give is when we were dating, we were serious about each other. And I guess I started tripping a little bit. Like I got, like Dion said, I started to get a little comfortable. And she didn't like how comfortable it at least appeared that I remember I was in a training for work and she sent me a text, January 3rd, 2014. I'll never forget it. And she kind of told me exactly, said, hey, I'm not, these are the women that you may have talked to in the past. This is, I think, and you talk about the foundation. That was it. We had the foundation set from our first date, and this is this, but that was like, hey, was a wake up call that, oh no, this is a different woman and you better get it together, brother, or you gonna lose her. And from that moment, I was like, man, like this is it. And that may not be like a great memory and this and that, but I hold on to that memory because if I feel like I'm slipping or tripping, I go back to that and we still talk about it and we laugh about it today because of the change in the pivot, because she put me on notice that, hey, we want to be together, but here are my expectations and things of that nature. And then to share a happy one is when we first got married and she drove 11 hours at the time. She didn't like driving. She was like, I don't drive longer than 4 hours. And we had just got married and I had to do some stuff for work. And she drove 11 hours to just spend that time with me. And she spent a couple of days and drove back so she could start a new job. And so being able to spend that quality time with her, and so it's just, and she's a special woman and y'all have heard stories about her, but those are two that stick out. One that got me right, but then another one that's just enjoyable and speaks to the woman that she is and how she loves and, where she holds me.
Yeah, one of the moments for me was we basically just had our 25th anniversary on last year, so October last year. And basically during that time, we had a lot of time just basically to talk and just to be with each other and fellowship, with one another instead of having the kids there or, anybody else there. It was just us, and we could, sit back and just talk and, sit back and talk about our life and what we plan to do, our goals and different things like that. So I think that was one of the most memorable moments that I can think of. It was a recent moment, but it was a good moment.
I like that.
Reconnection.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
And it's good sometimes, oftentimes, to sit down and together set goals. And it's sort of like pledging. We're going to do this right. And this is what we decide to do. And if things go wrong, we're still right there. We messed up. Won't be you. We messed up. And that's another thing about relationships, in marital relationships. You gotta be a part of the team. Because if you're not a part of the team, what's going to happen? You're gonna pull apart. Right. And I often talk about the three threads in a marriage. There's three. There's you, there's your wife, and then there's God. He's that third thread that holds everything together. And when you get into situations where you begin to argue, that third thread, if you're reading and studying it, they'll tell you, I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna argue with you because I love you. And it kind of diffuses those things sometimes. But you always have to have that third thread within that whole course.
That's a very important point. For the most part, in today's society, many people have kind of put God on the back burner, and that feeling that we can live without God. When we look around, God is expressed everywhere. If we were to take God out of the theory of the earth, then there would be nothing, because it says He is everything. Now, if He is everything, then we need Him so that we too can share everything. We won't have all of it, but we can share everything, and everything shakes hands. He don't demand much of us. Just acknowledgement. Just acknowledgement.
Amen. Anybody else want to chime in, or let's move to the next question? Okay, here's the next question. When you and your wife do things together, do you do more things that she like or more things that you like? While y'all are pondering, let me answer it from my standpoint. My wife and I are opposites. Opposites as day and night. I love television. She will watch it, but she don't have to have television. She would prefer going to a movie. I prefer to stay home and watch TV. So most of the things that we do centers either around television or us going to a movie. Since we're not going to a movie a lot, seems like I'm winning, or we're doing more of what I like, watching television. I don't think it's designed that way. I think just the convenience of having the television there and not having to spend money, we enjoy together watching TV. We might be one or two shows that we like to watch together, but she would rather go to a movie than sit in the house and watch television show.
You know, my wife and I, we too are total opposites. Unlikely, a very unlikely couple. I'm live and let live, while she is the one that likes to be nurtured, loved, romantic. But you have to find that in a marriage, you must find that happy medium in there. If you don't find that happy medium in there, eventually will drift apart. So while I like to give and let live and let live, she'll bring me in and lets me know, hello.
We both are debaters. We constantly debate, and we like to watch things on TV and talk about it. We take them off and we talk about it. That's our time. So I guess we mutually give to each other to have that kind of time. And we purposely watch these things on television so that we can talk about the issues, if you will, of the day. So I guess ours is sort of together. We share 50-50 in that respect.
I think most of the things we when we're together, I mean, the fact that when we are together, it's time where we both want to be there at the same time. We do a lot of DIY stuff together. We kind of call it our marriage counseling as well, whether it's woodworking, painting, or doing something in the house. And so it's time for us to be able to really spend together doing that. She reads a lot, more than I do. I mean, I read as well, but she does a lot more than I do. So that's not necessarily, quote unquote time together. But if there's something within the book that intrigues me or want to have a conversation around, we'll address it then, or she will too. Tell me about a certain scenario that's in the book. But we're more both homebodies. I'll say it's a little bit more difficult since we've incorporated a child now. We kind of find time to be able to do stuff all together, things that we generally like. It's more so the 4-year-old that likes it, and mom and dad kind of acquiesce. But And we know that'll change over time, but the majority of the time we're spending together, if not all of it. I mean, we and when you say together, I guess it me, I'm talking in the same room, same time, having the same activity. I mean, that's kind of that's the way we're both made up, in trying to spend time together like that. So, and I'll even be so bold to say it's more organic. It's not necessarily, hey, gotta go downstairs and spend time with the wife or her. So I gotta go downstairs and spend time with the husband. It's just more organic because I think we genuinely enjoy being around each other. So it's not forced as much as it is. I mean, we're a family, we're a couple, we're a unit. You know, we hang around each other, and want to do that constantly.
Okay.
When we go out, we kind of look at each other and we kind of come to a mutual agreement about where we want to go, those sorts of things. But as far as home goes, as far as like what we watch on TV, she wins 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. It's just you take the L and move on. So that's what I can really add to that.
Okay, well, good. Let's transition into a got 2 more questions, gentlemen. Can y'all give me 2 more questions? Let's do this funny one, I would say. Is your marriage more like, and we've got 5 categories, Family Feud, where you're constantly arguing, Let's Make a Deal, where there's a whole lot of compromise going on, The Chase, where one of you are always chasing the other one around the house, Jeopardy, where the relationship is tough currently, and finally, Match Game, where everything is lining up correctly.
Would you repeat those questions?
Yeah. Is your marriage more like Family Feud, Let's Make a Deal, The Chase, Jeopardy, and Match Game?
Well, let me start off saying that my marriage, because my wife and I are so much opposite of each other, before we get anything done, we go ahead and get the feud over with, so that we can go straight way into the progress, getting the task done at hand. And when we look back over it, we both agree that it was good that we got the argument out of the way, because now we know, we can see what we've done, and it was good. So yeah, Family Feud is fine.
Family Feud.
We're always making deals. And for us, that kind of spices things up when we're making deals, because marriage is a give and take relationship, and marriage is a relationship where you don't keep score, and you don't know who's winning.
You don't know.
You just in it, and so it's a. I guess it's number 2 that you talk about.
Well, I think if you, again, try to be introspective and not introspective, but give everything a certain type of perspective. I think compromise, the compromise choice, I think is a function of things lining up. I think you said things lining up correctly, and so you have the discussions about. Again, I enjoy playing golf. Since our child has been born, I don't play at the times I would normally want to play, because again, my wife and I like to double team my daughter as much as possible, and so there are times that I don't play because I'm not going to have her having to just be alone with our daughter. One, I want to be there, but the other part is, I mean, she's still 4, she's still rambunctious. And I don't want all that stress on my wife. And so there's compromises of, hey, this is what's going on. is it okay if I play this day? What's happened? And because we have that communication, I think another gentleman was talking about him and his wife are in constant communication. I think things line up the way that they're supposed to, based off the communication and the compromises that are made. And it's a part of not keeping score. I travel a lot more for my job than my wife does, and so I know when I come home and she's been with our child by herself for the most part, it's, hey, let me take baby girl off somewhere. You get some time back to yourself. It's a compromise. Yeah, I want to be with my daughter, and you're still having to do those parental things, but it's also giving my wife a break. And it's not necessarily keeping score. It's a compromise that we make because of the function of my job, but also I think it's a function of our marriage as well. And again, it's a compromise, and it ultimately helps for us to move forward together and have things line up like the way that we believe it should in a relationship. So I think both of those things for us work in tandem. We're again, compromising is a function of things lining up correctly. And if you don't have that, that's when I think you can run into certain problems.
That's good. That's good, sir.
Yeah, I think I agree with young man. I believe compromise. We have to compromise in our relationship. We have to hear what the other person is saying, and then, basically compromise. So
you're saying let's make a deal also then.
Let's make a deal. And also lining up match game. I think our marriage is starting to line up because basically we're listening. We're listening to each other. We're not just doing what we want to do. You know what I'm saying? We're listening more.
Well, I think I don't think it's just listening. I think you're taking action upon the things that you've heard and how you're digesting what she wants. So it's not, hey, I hear you. I understand. That's I know you want me to spend more time or whatever it is. And then you go about your business. You're making choices based off what you're hearing, and making sure you all are lining up, correctly in what you're hearing from her or what she's hearing from you, and making that compromise as it were. And then that lines you all up after you make those choices and take action upon what you've heard and what you've digested. So, to take that next step, it's what actions are we going to take based off the compromise that we've mutually made together.
And basically, she's also telling me, what she liked, and I'm telling her what I like. And then that basically hearing that, we try to, I guess, do what.
Be responsive.
Be responsive.
Be responsive. And that's the thing. I said this earlier, you talk about communication, but part of that communication, like I said, is listening, but also the listening part is fine. But now the next part is the action. And that action is, okay, I heard what he said, or heard what she said, or whatever the case may be. And then the union, the couple have to be responsive to what they heard and processed. One of the things about communication, you got to get clarity, because you may hear something and you think you heard what this person shared with you, but unless you get clarity, so you're saying this, okay, now this person has verified what you thought they said is actually what they said. Now it's the time for those actions. How can I accomplish this? She likes this. What can I do to show her or to let her experience that of what she likes? And that's really incumbent upon the spouse to be doing that for each other, the male and female, or what have you. So,
and I even think, some individuals in here, I guess, have been married or close to 50 years, and I would extend and say he probably still makes mistakes in the marriage, and he apologizes for that, right? At the same time, what I said, the best apology is change behavior. And so there are still certain things, even after or close to 50 years, it's, oh, I didn't know that I feel, I didn't know that hurt your feelings. what are you going to do moving forward? Oh, it goes back to, okay, I understand what you're saying. I heard you doing X, Y, and Z. What actions do you take? How responsive are you to that? To again move forward together is important, and that happens over a period of time.
For those who've been married for a certain period of time, those options
that's a lot nicer way to say it in a long time. That's a lot nicer way to say it in a long time.
what I'm saying,
Extended period
of time. I mean, think about it. All the choices they gave us, we're talking about match game, we're talking about Lex. Is it cyclical? Like, as far as, do you go into different phases? Can you be match game one phase? Can you be Lex make a deal? Could it be Family Feud? Could those things all be occurring during natural? I would think so.
Yeah,
but I'm
At different times.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Let me give another example of how my wife and I butt head or have a feud. Prior to our marriage, I was a single man and I had my own home, so I adorned it the way I wanted it to be. Well, my wife and I joined forces, and she's, women, we build the house for the woman, and the woman wants to dress the house out. But in my case, I wanted this, and she wanted that. Not thinking that the man had bought the house for the woman. And the man go outdoors and keep those hedges trimmed and cut the grass. But I wanted this picture this way in the house. So we butt heads over something trivial like that. So we have to, I'm not a sexist now, but we have to realize what we've done and compromise and get that feud out of the way and say, I like that, regardless whether you get it up there your way or not. And that's just the way it is.
You call that experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life experience.
Yes.
And just listening, and I would say let's make a deal. But and y'all know I love leadership. I can talk about it not to go. And I hear winning, keeping score, not keeping score things. And I think when it comes to marriage, like I said, not to bring, but I'm a big Simon Sinek fan. He has a book called The Infinite Game, and it's geared towards business. But he talks about how business, it's not a finite game. Like we know football, sports, there is a winner and a loser. But in marriage, it's an infinite game. So like I said, you can't keep score. Nobody. Because ultimately, if somebody is winning, then the marriage is losing. Because how do you gauge what does winning in marriage look like, right? And so I think about it like that. And then y'all jump and talk about the communication. And so me and my wife, we talk a lot. And what we learned in the premarital counseling was just because you talk a lot doesn't mean that you're communicating. And the pastor gave an example of talking, but it's like you got to communicate effectively to what you said about making sure that it's an understanding of what this person wants. And I think that plays a key role to allow you to continue to let's make a deal, so that let's making a deal doesn't turn into a family feud that ultimately lands you into playing Jeopardy, to where ultimately you want to land where it's a match game. And so I think that communication y'all been talking about is really good, but understanding the in-fightness, which is probably not a word, of the marriage and working together so we can win in marriage together by staying that way.
Right. Just to piggyback on the word winning. When you say if one person is winning, the other person is losing, and the marriage itself is losing. That's why I never, and I'm probably going to get Reverend Miller in trouble when we say this, I never like the term happy wife, happy life. I don't like that term because the premise behind that itself is that the wife wins. Now, as a husband, we understand, okay, I got to protect my wife, make her life easier. I understand that. But if you deep dive into that, it's
what does that mean?
Exactly what you just talking about, allowing this one person that's half this union to be the winner all the time. So what is it really doing to the male half in that sense that I'm always having to either silence myself when there's some important things that matter to me that I cannot speak on because I'm trying to keep peace, keep my wife happy. And that's what I want to do. But part of keeping my wife happy is to make sure that I'm also whole. Because if I'm dying inside because I'm afraid to share my most inner thoughts or my vulnerabilities and all those things with her, then the marriage really, the happiness that people may see is just a facade.
Yeah.
And so I don't like the happy wife having.
Go back to your lung example.
Yeah.
One lung pumping good, but you the other man. Yeah, you
Right.
not. You
Absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
When you talked about that, I thought about some of the processes that I would go through, and that is letting her have my way. There's something about letting her have my way, even though you may call that her winning all the time. Let her have your way sometimes. Let her have it the way you want it. And I think that's a deep statement, letting someone have their way.
I recall my wife and our last child. I guess he must have been about 7, 8, 9 years old. And because he had seen many things in the house, he said to me, he says, "Daddy," I quote, he said, "Daddy, Mama the boss." Unquote. And I says, "What do you mean?" So I'm not gonna call it. "What do you mean?" He says, "Mama the boss. She tells you what to do." I said, "Well, I didn't quite understand exactly what he was saying. And if I had given it a second thought, I would have thought about a better answer. But I says, know this, son. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I don't know if that fed into his psyche or if I was standing ground. But now he's married, and surely he's experiencing the same things that he told me. not necessarily she the boss, but that he too has to compromise.
Yeah, but he's gonna do what he want to do.
Yeah, he's gonna do what he's gonna do.
All right. Listen, I thank y'all for this. This is the last question. But before we get to that last question, nobody said anything about the chase. Nobody is always chasing the other one. And I didn't want to explain it at the beginning because I wanted y'all to answer it, but that has sexual or bedroom overtones to it. But nobody ever said.
We told you. All the compromise.
And it's also about letting her have your way.
But thank you, gentlemen. Here's the final question, and I'm giving you all an opportunity in case you said something bad about your wife. Here's an opportunity for you to brag regarding your marriage to your wife.
I'll give y'all some time. Y'all see my wife. Y'all know my wife is beautiful. I'm blessed. And sometimes y'all may be like, how did he get her? Y'all just know God.
I ask that all the time.
Well, that just lets you know God is good, right? And I've been living right.
Absolutely.
But for me, and I can go on and on about her, but I was like to speak about her beauty, but her resilience and her grace. And I probably could have shared it as one of our biggest or one of my favorite memories. But I can say it's a show part. Dad, you know this, and you know this. We struggled to have our first child. And so going through that, the prayers, the faith, all of that, and seeing how she handled that situation, and when we found out, when she found out and she shared it with me, having that moment and knowing what it took us through emotionally, and conversations that we had to see that and see the strength in which, and really the the resilience, perseverance to go through the ups and downs, the emotions of, oh, yeah, maybe not. Oh, those are the things that I'm bragging about. And that's one specific example, but just to see life and where, my career takes us. And so the grace in which she gives, and the resilience, and because she's so brilliant, to have had multiple career starts, and to see that, because, whether she's the boss or not, she can put her foot down and say, no, we're not doing that. I don't want to go here. I don't want to make that sacrifice. I don't want to make this deal. So her resilience and grace is something that I continuously always brag on, outside of just her overall brilliance in who she is. Just the heart she has, is her trusting me to lead our family.
The word talks about we should be givers. Be humble and be givers. My wife's a giver. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you all realize that, but she is a giver. She gives, not looking for something back. She gives. And I love her for that. She's a giver. Because when you give, you're going to get something back. And
that's a principle.
Yeah, she's a giver.
Well, I think one of the things that I've had to learn through experiences in life, and some unfortunate experiences, is in any relationship, I think both parties have to have a true, genuine spirit of reconciliation. And that's what I admire about her, no matter what arguments or debates or differing opinions we have. I know for a fact there's always a spirit of reconciliation with her. So I don't have to worry about if I mess up or if I'm not there or something's bothering her. I know she's going to address it. And what she makes sure we do is, how do we figure out a way where we're both moving forward together through this specific issue? And that's one thing that always stands out to me about her is that spirit of reconciliation. We may disagree on certain things, and that's okay. How are we going to figure out a way to move forward together? And I do believe both parties have to have that spirit of reconciliation. I think sometimes one has to hold the other accountable to that. I think we both do that, but I think it's always top of her mind is that spirit of reconciliation, how we can move forward together. And I truly,
I know that she loves me also, but her favorite word. And when I hear this, I know that I've gotten the finite answer. There's no discussion. She will say quickly and definitively, I'm not doing all that. And when she says that, I know that she means what she says and that her position is staunch. She's not bulging. And I love her for that. But now, if I want to go against her, then I man up. And she then has to make a decision. But going back to our youngest child, I do what I want to do.
I don't think that's helping you.
Yeah,
maybe she lets him have her way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I brag about my wife, her helping spirit. She's gonna try to go the extra mile to help you if she can help you. Even at church, basically the pastor had said she has a spirit of hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
So basically going the extra mile, making sure everybody's okay and reassuring her family. I think that those are important, and that's why I brag about my wife.
Mm-hmm. My wife is a giver as well. She loves her family. She loves extended family, co-workers. She's always trying to provide for them. whether it's, I'll be there to help you do X, Y, and Z, or pick up the phone and check, how are you doing? But even as you guys know, this weekend, she bought those little putties because she knew our situation.
I got home.
Because she's always thinking, okay, how can I make whatever experience better? Like, what can I do to increase this? And so that's what I love about it, because I know she loves people. That's just what she's kind of continue to bring to my
I said my wife's a giver, but she's a Miller.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the Millers.
Yeah.
She is a Miller. And you talk about an accomplishment in a marriage. She's a Miller. She could be in a room talking with people. She's a Miller. She's proud of it. And I think you all know that she's a Miller.
For me, biggest compliment, I guess, for my wife, and then what she does for me, it's just her belief in me, right? And like her belief in me is so much that like she commits to it, like 100%. So when we were dating, she was going to school in Charleston, and we found out that they had a campus in Greenville. I'm like, hey, I got a great idea, because I'm a big thinker, right? I got all these great ideas. They're great to me. All these great ideas. I'm like, hey, what about this, right? You're paying $1,500 a month for rent. What if we move into my parents' garage? And she's like, okay. And we moved into my parents' garage, and her actually showing that belief, making that commitment to me, and then actually going out into the sun, digging the trench and everything so that we could have the water, the cable, all the utilities piped in from the main house to the garage, just examples like that. And going back to what we said maybe 2 questions ago, the compromise thing, let's make a deal. I'm like, hey, if we do this, we'll do this for X number of years, and we're going to move into a big house. Not like a regular house. We're going to move into a big house. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna hold you to it. So that's kind of what she did. So that's why I love my wife, and that's why I think she's awesome.
Okay. Well, I think everybody, if you had messed up before, I think everybody made up for it, with the exception of one that's gonna do what he gonna do. But listen, I thank all of you for taking this time to be a part of this. It was special to me. In a few weeks, listening audience, we're going to have this exact same conversation with some married women, so that they can give some feedback about their husbands, the way these husbands did with their wives. But as we get ready to close, I want to thank you for listening. And then always in closing, it takes two to make a relationship work.
Thank you for listening to the Relationship Therapy Podcast with Tony Miller Sr. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. Tune in next time for more insight on how to make your relationship better. If you have any questions, please email us at tmrelationshiptherapy@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, it takes two to make the relationship work.